Alright guys, welcome to another video here on my YouTube channel. As you can see, we have a countdown for a Vintage Cube Live 64-player limb draft starting. So yeah, 64 players, one player makes it out and qualifies for the weekend's actual, 8-man draft that qualifies one person for Vegas. So I'm very excited about this one, and yeah, I hope you are as well. Welcome to the show. Let's see who we're in a pod with here. So these are just going to be incredibly stacked. To be honest, I only know Bolovo and Sandy Doc here, Chiaco Saporito and Sandy Doc. So yeah, I'll have to best those 7 players in order to make it out. And I'm starting with what I would imagine is like a top 2, top 3 card in the cube in Sol Ring. Pretty easy pick here to start out the draft. I'm passing a Library of Alexandria, a Spell Pierce, and a bunch of tier 2 and down cards. Pretty excited about that start. There's a lot of variance to, how much power do you open, this and that. But you combine a little bit of luck with good fundamentals, you're setting yourself up here. In a pack like this, it's kind of impossible to predict what will wheel. I will say that if the Council Judgment or Magda comes all the way back, then there's some chance for red or white aggro to be the place to be. Let's add the Sol Ring here. Okay, so we already have some kind of decision here. I think that decision is going to be taking Flash. I'm taking Flash early. It leads to, quick wins. If there was any, like, bomb type 3-mana, 4-mana card, I would take it to couple with the Sol Ring. That could be something like, I don't know, Minsk and Boo, Sheldred, Bombardiers, or Theolingus. But since there's not, I am happy to speculate on the Flash, passing Gristlebrand, passing Mystical Tutor. I mean, if Mystical Tutor comes back, I'm happy, but I don't expect it at this point. Okay, next pack has a Force Negation and a Thoughtseize. So Force Negation is worse than Thoughtseize, but Force Negation is on color. That is not nothing. I will say that I'll happily splash a card like Flash. I don't have to be like main blue. So yeah, I'm gonna follow and take the best card here, despite passing, Gristlebrand. Passing Force Negation, Troll is good, Converter is good. Man Confluence I actually like quite a bit, especially when I'm trying to splash, big things. So I have to keep an eye out for a big creature that works well with Flash. But until that happens, I'm happy just taking solid magic cards. And speaking of solid magic cards, I'm going to take Mana Leak here. Mana Leak, I'm taking it over Baleful Strix, I'm taking it over Nadu, and then we have like these blue killer-ish type card here with Tidebinder and Click. I'm taking Mana Leak here simply because 2-mana counters are awesome. If you have just a deck with, Thoughtseize this, Mana Leak that, Fatal Push that, like, that's just super solid. A lot of cube decks are built around, play your Sneak Attack, close your eyes, play your Natural Order, hope for the best, right? So we're trying to pick that apart with high card quality, while also trying to leverage some brokenness here with Flash. I'm actually going to put it in my spec pile here. We add Mana Leak to the deck. Okay, this is pretty easy. Prismatic Vista. Very happy with 5th pick Prismatic Vista. Prismatic Vista is a card that helps me cast Thoughtseize and Mana Leak, and that's basically what I'm looking to do here. Either pick 2 good cards in blue and black, or something that helps me cast those cards on time, basically. Also, the Vista, as I talked about earlier, like, there is some world I end up, red, black, splash, Mana Leak, and Flash. That's not impossible, and a card like Vista helps that situation. Taking it over Bloodchief's Thirst, I guess. Fairy Mastermind, like, there's a big gap. Very, very happy with that pickup. This start is very, very strong. I'm very, very happy with the start. Let's see if we can keep it up here. So I'm immediately looking at after blue cards, no blue cards here. Harvester is actually a decent card. It's a 2-mana spot removal and a 5-mana sweeper type card that comes with a good threat. I don't mind that card. Maybe it's a bit too, let's say, unambitious to take that card right now. On the other hand, there's a card like Rafine's Tower, which helps cast what I already have, and it's kind of speculating on white. So I actually think I want to do that and stay a little bit open, and if I just end up blue-black, I just picked up, a tier 2 fixing for my deck, so it's not that bad. Okay, I mean, we definitely take this. We have a Sol Ring and 2 Premier Disruption spells, and good mana alongside a, potential for a win now combo. I think this is right around the time where we basically learn if there's any, any of these colors open or other colors. I set myself up with Tower to speculate into white, the Vista speculates into all colors. So I can end up all colors right now, which is quite strong for this, place in the draft. Okay, so I think here the best card is Tireless Tracker, but I don't think the gap is big enough between that and Stern Scolding. I should just take Stern Scolding. It's going to be good against the aggressive decks. It can randomly counter something like Urza was the best card I could think about, like out of the more expensive cards. So I'm just going to take this kind of solid disruption spell, but I am going to be wary of the fact that my colors might not be open. And as I say that, I see an 8th pick Toxic Deluge, so pretty, I don't want to say scripted, but pretty good development for me so far in the draft. Still nothing to combo with the Flash. Iteration was interesting, but having an on-color, 3-color sweeper, I mean, I'm never going to pass that, so. Wheeling Crabomination out of this pack alongside Triome. Maybe this Abomination is going to be fine. If I'm taking this Talisman, I'm basically saying maybe I get some artifact synergies. Abomination is like, well, maybe it's more likely that I get there on artifact synergies than I want a 6-drop of Abomination. I'm actually okay. Or I could speculate on the Triome. I'm actually going to speculate on the Triome. There's some last-minute thoughts here. That's something like opening, what do I know, Walkers or Plow, stuff like that. The white could come in handy, who knows? Okay. So here's a white removal spell, but there's also Sylvan Caryatid. Is there any way I'm still on the splash plan? I highly doubt it. I am going to take it, though. Pretty tough pick. This is also tough. This is basically saying, is there any chance I'm Sultai, or am I just bolstering my land situation here, which is not ideal in a control deck. Mana Confluence is not the best in a control deck, so let's see, Tear Asunder, or, yeah, I'm going to take Mana Confluence. Very hard tail end of the pack here for me. Okay, Medillion Click, good pickup. Let's take that card. So, Terra Mastermind, I mean, these cards are totally serviceable if you're just, passing the turn with mana out for counters, flashing in a creature, or, actual flash. That's just a good game plan. So, I don't know. I think this is fine. I'm not going to take Bizarre Baghdad. I think that card is very bad. Ooh, okay. This card might make sense. Let's see. Okay, so status after pack 1 is we're pretty well set up into blue-black. We're speculating on the flash still. And then we open a Mana Crypt. So the thing about Mana Crypt is, in a deck with Thoughtseize, Mana Confluence, Toxic Deluge, blue-black as a reactive color combination, it's not, like, it's way worse than a Mox in this deck, where in aggressive decks, it's way better than a Mox, so interestingly enough, a little bit of context there. Yeah, I mean, we can never have a Mana Crypt in this spot. We can maybe get something like Dark Ritual back if nobody cares around the table. Interesting. And up next, we have Reanimate as the clear best card, and in our colors to boot. So let's take Reanimate. We're basically playing blue-black Life Loss here, which is, I mean, not ideal. We will need some proactive elements, but it's cool. It's kind of early, so we can hopefully draft around it. Maybe I can wheel the deck through time. Reanimate joins the fold, and here comes Oko, and oh wow, there's a Bowmaster. Okay, I missed that card. Okay. For sure, slam dunk Bowmaster. Very happy with 3rd pick Bowmaster here. Taking it over Watery Grave, taking it over Oko. I was actually about to say that pick would have been kind of close, but yeah, definitely happy about that. The thing is, there's a Woodfall Primus, so I'm actually very bad at, that's why I should put it in the front here. I'm bad at registering these, but if we can wheel that, this pack is very strong, like 3 good lands, Oko, Palantir, Duelist, and one of the red cards. There's a chance we wheel this Primus. Let's take Orcish Bowmasters here. And now we have basically Cryptic Command versus a land. Again, not an easy pick. I'm actually going to go for the land here. I believe if I have good mana, this deck is going to be way better. So let's take that over Triplicate. Okay. Triplicate is like a tier 2 option with Flash. for now, I think I can do better. Could be the famous last words. Okay, this is a very bad pack. Is Coalition Relic ever gonna make it? Or is Shadowgrange Archfiend gonna make it? What's more likely? It's probably the Relic. Like, I want to potentially accelerate out some stuff. There's also Steam Vents. I have a Vista. Maybe it's nice for me to have access to red. Yeah. And having Steam Vents is more reliable than a Relic when it comes to, casting, let's just say, red 3-drops or whatever. Okay. Now the pack is not super interesting anymore. I guess I just take Concealing Curtains. That is like a filler black card on the level of Mastermind and Click. But it is something proactive to do in my Mana Crypt deck that wants to finish the job. It has high toughness with Toxic Deluge, so overall, fine card. Okay, here's a cut down on a bunch of not relevant cards for my deck. So we basically take this, let's call it a tier 2 removal spell. It gets the job done, kills the 1-drop or 2-drop out of white and red and green. So it's definitely fine. And there's a bunch of utility creatures in all colors. So cut down is serviceable. So worth noting is here, blue is not open in particular. It was just the pack where I wheeled Mastermind and Click. Those packs just had a lot of, let's say, comparable blue cards. So that's why they wheeled. It wasn't a sign or anything. Okay, so I'm going to take Bobble here over Time Spiral, I guess. I'm not big on the draw 7s, I got to say that. Even though I have a Bowmaster. The pick is probably closer than I give it credit for here, but yeah, I'm not big into those draw 7s. I think if I have a Bowmaster, it's generally a good situation for me. And then the counter argument is I'm playing into more, potential or oops, I win or whatever the case may be. Okay, so we actually wheel both Dress Down and Probe. So Dress Down is hard to evaluate. I'm sure it will come up, but just going to take the Probe here. You can't really go wrong with that card. So I really like how cheap my deck is, which is kind of weird with the Mana Crypt Sol Ring situation. So let's see. I might regret not picking the Crabomination. These events are always super exciting. It's actually one of the tournaments that I look forward to the most. I can easily get into a mindset where, oh yeah, I mean, this is a challenge just like the next one and just like the last one. But these are actually quite awesome. So I have a bunch of cheap cards here to enable Dig Through Time. I'll happily take that. Also, Dig Through Time is very good with, a little bit of mid-game flash. So you can actually, I'm not going to say it's Demonic Tutor, but in a 40-card deck, it looks through a lot of cards. So if I have any sort of combos in my deck, or bullets like the Toxic, I really like Dig Through Time. Okay, I end up wheeling the Primus. That was a cool situation. So nobody else, obviously we have Flash, the premier reason to want Primus, so we take that, and we wheel the Cryptic. Okay. Definitely very strong. So I got to pick Fixing out of that pack and wheel the Cryptic. Very, very happy with that. Let's see. Nobody's playing Storm. Nobody's playing green-black combo. I'm just going to take the Lavamancer. Since we're playing Pod, there is some chance somebody tried to get 2 cards out of that pack. So I'm just taking the card that's the most likely to make my opponent's deck. With that being said, I don't think I mind my opponent playing Grim Lavamancer, but it's just good practice to think a little bit about. Okay, so we connected on the Flash. That's huge. And now I don't have to worry about that. I will say that I'm on the lookout for, of course, all the solid stuff, the 2-mana counters of the world, Force of Will. But I'm also looking for something that I can power out with my Sol Ring Mana Crypt. Because right now, this looks like the worst Mana Crypt deck I've ever seen. But let's see if we can actually find some 3 or 4 mana cards that want that card. Barragoyf definitely qualifies. I like that card. Also, it has lifelinks, so that card might just be, I'm not going to say exactly what I wanted to see here, but very, very strong. If I power that out, I have a little bit of fetches. It's good with Probe, so Probe is actually coming in clutch here. It buys back life for, has high toughness for Toxic. Okay, that's a good pickup. And then maybe I can wield the Tar Pit. Treachery is decent, but Treachery is like context dependent. Barragoyf is always going to be fine. Yeah, pick Baragoyf. I get shipped an Underground Sea and a Preordain. I think this is Underground Sea. Having my mana is not perfect. My mana is good, but my mana is not perfect, and this is probably going to be my last chance to get Premier fixing. So let's add that to the fold. Here I have Duress and Undercity Sewers. I think this is fine. Then go Underground Sea Duress, where it could have easily gone, the opposite way around. Duress is very strong against spells. I have Cut Down Toxic Deluge, very strong against creatures. That will definitely make my deck more well-rounded, so let's take that. And then I have to do a little bit of a playable count here. So I have 24 cards total. 6 of those are mana sources, so I'm at 18 right now. But I have 2 free cantrips. Realistically, I'm looking to end up, I don't know, maybe 15 lands, and those 2, it's 17 total. Maybe that's realistic. What would I like to see now, realistically? I guess Subtlety. Subtlety will do. Subtlety is a very good tempo play. Gets in for chip damage. It's unfortunately easily better than Jace. And I think at this point I'll prioritize it over fixing. Subtlety is also just, I play, what do I know? I play Baragoy if the opponent has a big play. I go Subtlety. I start, I bring back the Subtlety with Baragoy. I guess that's not how it works. Which one of the new cards you bring back? Yeah, whatever. Forget about that. Okay, so here's Chromehose Seed Shark, which is a card I enjoy when I can kind of cheat a little bit on mana with cards like, Big Through Time in this case. And that's good. It's a good card with Mana Crypt, which is something I'm looking for at this point. I'm taking it. Wait. I'm trying to see if I can play 1 Plains or Fiend's Tower to Fairy. Maybe I don't want to work my mana. That 1 Plains is going to be quite bad. If I could play this without adding Plains, I mean, I can, but then it's more tap lands. If I had a more free splash, I would want to Fairy. I actually think it's okay to take the creature. Is it interesting if I have 3 mana already to then tutor a Crypt or Sol Ring? That's the question I want to ask myself here with Trinket Mage, and I think the answer is no. So I think I want to choose between these, this Virtue and Brazen. I actually think Brazen, I think that's what my deck want to do, like flashy, a little bit of disruption. Virtue would be fine though. Yeah, this pack is not exciting at all. Is there any world this Recurring Nightmare gets there? I don't think so. Am I playing Gush? Is it good with anything else than Seed Shark? I don't think so. These cards are just bad all around. And there aren't any like tier 1 cards that I want to hate pick in particularly. Maybe I don't want to face Recurring Nightmare. I don't know. There's Worldspine Worm, which is probably, yeah, it's an upgrade to Primus. Not super excited about it, but I will upgrade it. And I wheeled the Treasury out of this pack. Treasury is another one that's good with Shark. Like, it's quote-unquote free, and you get a big creature from it. So let's take that. I guess these cards don't do anything. Do I have any green in my sideboard that I would ever want to play? I don't think so. I'm just going to take the star. Here I'm going to take Soul Guide to have, basically free graveyard interaction. So let's see where I'm at here. I have 12 spots, 6 already. So I have to play one of these 1-drops, Soul Guide or Star. Maybe I just play Soul Guide. I think that's okay. So yeah, this deck is looking pretty strong. I would have loved more stuff to capitalize on the Soul Ring and Mana Crypt, but it's, yeah, I don't know. I'm not one to complain about a good scenario, so I'm just saying that would have put the deck over the top. I think that's the point. The good Dimir decks are usually pretty low to the ground, but this is no exception. So yeah, I mean, I give myself a shot here with this deck, which is all I can ask for. Remember, this is single elimination, so if I lose, I'm out. Yes, I said I'm super excited to play this. I have this one and one more on the calendar. Actually, I can't remember if the Teferi can wheel, so I'm going to take this. I really don't like the Baleful Mastery. But I should have counted. If the Teferi can't wheel, this is a worthless pick, so... In a perfect world, I keep track of that. This is just, yeah, the best way to play Magic that I know. Playing, like... This is not a random tournament where your opponent's going to be like, oh, dinner's ready, I'll be leaving, GG's. Like, this is... Everybody cares a lot about winning here, which is huge. Gonna hate pick the Interpreter. It being black and red makes it the most likely to make an opponent's deck, and it's actually a good card against me, so when you're playing on pod, it's not nothing. So I ended up getting a decent amount of fixing, but I am also trying to cast turn 1 black spell, turn 4 cryptic command pretty reliably, so yeah, I don't know. Gush is a fun one, so let's see. I'll add 11 lands from here. Yeah, that works. Okay, so we can maybe just make the mana base now while we wait. This is ready to sync up with the other pots, so so let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 already of black. So maybe what if I add 5 of those? Then I get to 9 total. And that would be 34. Then I have 6 spots left to go to 10. So I play 9, 10. Is that correct? Maybe I'm supposed to play 10, 8, actually. Yeah, I think I play 10, 10, 8 here. The mana is not ideal, mainly because Crypt and Sol Ring are taking up, mana slots. But yeah, I'll play a decent mana base. I have a good deck. I'm excited to battle. See you guys for round 1. All right, here we go. Round 1. I'm on the draw here with a sketchy hand, but I actually think it's okay. I'm on the draw. I have a probe. I can get super lucky on like a Thoughtseize plus Reanimate combination. So I'm basically just trying to hit my second land before I run out of stuff to do off of the black spells. Flash. I'm trying to think about reasons to probe now. There is some world where I draw Island, I see my opponent's hand, and I realize Stern Scolding is going to be better than the Thoughtseize. So let's do that before our land drop. Here's a Bauble. Okay, I'm playing against that kind of deck, which is interesting because now I can actually Thoughtseize the Timeless Dragon, reanimate it next turn, and then kind of use that as my way to win this game. Right now, my opponent does not have a blue card. If they get it, they'll have to pitch next turn. Eventually, I will have to beat Through the Breach and Blightsteel, and funnily enough, my opponent has a 5-mana sweeper in there. Incidentally, I can also mess with my opponent's mana a little bit. So let's see what the opponent's drawing. They're drawing a 5-drop, so I guess now my play is kind of automatic. That 5-drop is blue, though. Won't mention that. So I guess take the Timeless with the plan. I don't mind my opponent drawing the 5-drop. Otherwise, I actually could have shuffled my opponent's deck there, which is kind of funny. I definitely messed this up. So let's see. Those 3 alongside Bluff and Through the Breach. Sure. Pass, draw. What can it be? Can we do it? Draw an Island is a very good draw. We know our opponent's play. Now there's no Spiral Bluff. The opponent does have Force Pitch. Force Pitch thing to the Teferi. Here's a Dig Through Time. Not a bad draw for later. So am I taking turn off here, duressing my opponent? Yeah, I would say yes. So duress. Worth noting is as I quickly try and manage these cards. That was 5. So, the question is basically, am I willing to get negated next turn and lose my clock? I don't think so. I think it's better for me to say, I'm going to take away the negation. You have mono 5-drops in hand. I'm going to develop a 5/5. And then I kind of have this mana leak to hopefully close out the game. So, let's see if this works. Force negation hits the bin. My opponent missed a land drop. Very good for me with the mono 5-drops in hand. Here's another awesome draw. Now I have mana leak up, and I'm building a creature. Worth noting is I can mana leak, but I can't dig through time. Here's the third land for the opponent. Can they do anything they can't? Okay, so we start the aggression here, which is great. So know about those four, one unknown. I dropped Prismatic Vista. Very, very strong. I kept the one-lander this game, and things worked out quite nicely, I would say. Let's see if the opponent has anything cheeky here to make my life hard. I will have to close out the opponent before they go, like, back-to-back-to-back 5-drops. I'm trying to think about which 2-mana counters are in the draft. Daze, Miscalculation, Remand, Reprieve, Counterspell Drain, of course. But mainly I was thinking about which cards to delve. Okay. So funnily enough, Stern Scolding works against that card. I will do that. Not entirely sure why the opponent does it now. Let's see. Maybe they're trying to clear the way for something. Here's Expressive Iteration. So now I know my opponent's hand is... Wait a minute. Oh, the opponent pitched Sunfall here. Now my opponent, I know what my opponent's hand is, so I'm gonna counter this because that card could represent mana development, and I'm basically trying to win with those cards stuck in my opponent's hand. I think if they go back to back those cards, I could be in trouble. So let's Mana Leak here, take the turn, then I can main phase a Dig Through Time to try and keep up the pressure a little bit. Maybe connect on Flash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Leave Artifact and Land. I think that's good for, like, Barrogoyf situation. Speaking of Barrogoyf, here's Barrogoyf with a Mana Crypt. But funnily enough, I actually think Barrogoyf with an island is better. I guess I'd take those. Any order. And now I have my opponent dead next turn. And they have 2 uncastable 5-drops in hand. So I'm trying to put on and close out this game before my opponent comes back. Okay, looks like my opponent is still in this game. I actually thought that was Seething Song for a second. Okay, so here's a chump blocker from my opponent. With my opponent at 9, I don't really mind. Let's see what I can draw here. If I can ice the game or I have to sweat out. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So we take down game 1 here. Opponent's playing Jeskai with a nasty finish. But it's kind of funny that I connected on all my stuff. Burn Scolding is good if I see Lelia and, you know, Solitude. Cut Down is also good against those cards. We have a card like Lantern that's not going to be any good. I can just replace it with Chromatic Star. That's not crazy. That's totally fine. It's just a straight up upgrade. Other than that, I don't think I have anything here. If I'm really desperate, I could go like Interpreter, but I don't think that makes sense. I will have to close out this opponent. We have cards like Through the Breach, and who knows, like, what's coming out of that card. So definitely have to play the tempo game a little bit when possible. I really liked how I was able to turn the Reanimate into a 1-mana 5/5, thanks to Thoughtseize. Reanimate is just... It's basically... We basically learned from Legacy that that card is good even though you don't put, you know, Gristlebrand into play. This hand is fine. I have my first 2 lands this time. Still have the probe for info, so I kind of know, you know, what to do with pulling up mana, if I should brace and stuff like that. But I'm rolling into 6, and I get to see what's up with the probe. I keep that card. Bowmaster is a nice one, most likely. Probe. I draw Thoughtseize, which must be an amazing draw. Okay. So now I get to Stern Scolding a 3rd path. And then I have to worry about mana drain later, which I think is reasonable. My opponent did not develop blue turn 1, so it's unlikely the opponent goes pass here. It's very likely the opponent goes 3rd path, right? So now I counter that card. What I also could do is Bowmaster that card. Is that better? Probably not. But it's actually a good... So, it was a bit late that I caught myself there. So, if the opponent resolves that card, Force of Negation does not answer Bowmaster. So on my next turn, I can go land, Bowmaster, your third path. But if I play like this, I can Stern Scolding, make that card do something. And then next turn I go Thoughtseize. So I kind of Thoughtseize my opponent before they get Drain up. Or maybe that's not... Maybe that's bad logic. That's actually a very tough call. What to do here. Because what is this Stern Scolding doing? I mean, I did see Solitude. And there, I can get punished by the opponent having something like Mox, something like Daze. I guess Daze is not really good. Well, okay. Yeah, there's definitely a few situations here that makes this a bit iffy, but let's see. The opponent's down to Negation, Drain, and one Unknown. And now, if nothing, I get to at least, Thoughtseize the Drain out of the equation. Most likely. So unless this card is actual Daze or Force of Will, I'm going to have a... Well, I would love that to happen because I have the Bowmasters, right? Okay. Very interesting call. Very nice draw from me here. Let's see. So I'll just Thoughtseize my opponent here. I think that's a great play. My opponent wants to force negate this. I'm totally fine. Okay, they kept that card. Makes sense. So I think what I'm supposed to do here is take the Drain, even though that does make it way easier for the opponent to play, but I think I can accept that. My opponent has a burn spell in hand, so no that one. No that one, no that one. Let's see. So Negation, Ghostfire Slice, and one Unknown. So I'm leaning... Very, very nice draw here. I get Cryptic on time. I'm leaning towards getting the Brazen involved here, which is more or less forcing the issue on the Ghostfire Slice. Bowmaster's a slightly slower clock, but it's slightly more, likely that that card actually is a hate bear, where this is just a tempo piece. So if this trades 1 for 1, sure. Maybe the opponent can kill it right away now. But they also have to worry about me, jamming something when the Force of Negation is down. There's a flash. Let's see if that does anything later. So now we're in this spot where I'm hoping to counter something juicy and then kind of run away with the game here. So let's Bowmaster here, at least punish our opponent a little bit for hand tripping. Hopefully get a little bit of a clock going. I'm dreaming of this cut down to trade with a smaller creature this turn, but realistically, I'm just going to untap and hold up Cryptic, and we kind of play that game. The opponent showed plenty of, 5-mana haymakers that I can catch. Furthermore, Negation doesn't help on the opponent's turn, so with me being kind of a flashy deck, no pun intended, I think I like that situation quite a bit. There's a Sol Ring that I can develop off a Swamp here. Let's get combat over with first. The opponent could theoretically have something like, I don't know, Malcolm. Maybe, I guess they're not running like a 3-1 commando out of white, but for good measure, we attack first. Play Sol Ring. Sol Ring isn't like all that great right now, so we just develop it while we can, still holding up Cryptic. Speculating on the flash. Let's see what this is. Okay, this is lane cycling and passing the turn, so it looks like I'm getting in a bit more damage here. I could definitely see, bouncing the Timeless Dragon, drawing a card next turn, trying to close out the opponent, which would leave me naked, so this game is definitely not over. So Womp is not a good draw. I'm trying to think about which looting effects I have. Do I have any looters in the deck? It doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like Slow Roll Swamp has any point. So let's just play. Attack my opponent down to 12. So my opponent's trying to set up a situation where the Timeless Dragon is like a, what do you call that? Like a smokescreen. Okay, with Thari. That actually makes it a bit easier for me. So counter, draw. Counter target spell, draw a card. Swamp, worst draw in my deck. Best draw in my deck. Yeah, that's definitely not true. Worst draw in my deck by far. Island, next worst draw in my deck. And all of a sudden, we have ourselves a game here. I got my opponent to 9 life before they stabilized. And I need to draw something. Once my deck gets to this point, it's really not that strong. Because I don't really have any use for all of that mana. And even my cards like, you know, Treachery and stuff like that, they get negated at this point, so. Here's a Seed Shark. That's not a bad card. Let's play Chrome Host Seed Shark. Yeah. So now I have to think about going end step Flash for nothing to get a 2/2. Is that good? Then attack with everything. The opponent eats this, takes 5. Yeah, it's not good. So I'll wait on that plan. So now my opponent's holding up negation. Here's a V-Click. Very, very good card. So I'm going to do that on my opponent's draw step. Let's see if I can play around Remand here. 1/2 colorless. 1/2 colorless. So it's like Remand. I have the mana leak. So I don't have to play out the land. We can not do that. It's a bit iffy doing this on the opponent's I guess we tap like this. It's a bit iffy doing this on the draw step because through the breach. So funnily enough, if I force my opponent to draw a card, I will grow my Orc. So I'm disrupting my opponent even though I have a bad hand, which is generally not where you want to be. Okay. So a card like Fractured Identity would actually be quite strong right now. I think I have to take that. Let my opponent have Lelia, which is not a good attacker. Let my opponent have the redundant creatures. Let my opponent have the counter. Fractured. Yeah, let's take the Fractured and ping our opponent here down to 8. So now, am I now doing the flash thing into a 2/2? Let's see. My opponent blocks click. My opponent takes 2, 4, plus 4. That's actually lethal. Yeah, I actually have managed to find lethal here. So I will cut down this Lelia before anything weird happens. The opponent could fight over this. I'm not sure they want to, though. Okay, they hardcast negation. Fair enough. So I get the 1/1. I don't think my opponent can attack here. Now what about my flash plan? Let's see. If I flash and I make those creatures, then I have a 1/1, a 2/2, a 3/1. So my opponent will block. Let's say they eat Bowmasters. They block the 3-powered flyer. I deal 3. I deal 2 more. I deal 3. So 3, 3. That's 8. So my opponent actually has to chump block the Orc army now. Let's see. What if they go block that, take 5, 6, block that, and it take 8. Okay, so I actually have a good play here. Interesting. So I will pressure my opponent to the max. I'll go flash nothing. I will turn this into a 2/2 to save a little bit of mana. I'll draw a brick, which is not good. And then I'll attack with everything. couldn't ice the game there with my draw step, but that's how it goes sometimes. So now I lose to Through the Breach, which I think is going to be... So my opponent has not that, not that, not that. So my opponent did the math here. 3 plus 3 is 6. So eat chump block. I put my opponent to 2. You can't do that, opponent. That's the math I just did. That's why my tag is good, because my opponent can't, you know, eat the Bowmaster. My opponent can do that, then they take... Okay, sure. So take 3, take 6. So this allows my opponent to actually draw a cantrip, can't be Ponder, must be like Preordain or Consider, not die, and look a little bit further. So damage, my opponent's at 2. I'll develop my tap land. And I lose to Through the Breach, which is a scary place to be against the deck. So, okay. So the opponent played to their outs here. This is awesome. Like, we should appreciate this. The opponent made a quote-unquote bad block, left this in play, jumping to save 1 life, partially because they had Fiery Islet in the deck. They now give themselves another shot at drawing a card. Imagine they block the 2/2, then they lose from this Fiery Islet. So, very nice play by the opponent. I really like that. So I put my opponent to 1 here, and I basically ask, did you draw Through the Breach? And my opponent did not. So we prevailed the quarterfinals here in the first pod. Very, very happy with that, of course. I had a cool tempo draw here, and I was able to turn my deck into a tempo deck to limit my opponent's outs. I obviously, you know, ran well here. Stern Scolding, got the info from Probe, good Thoughtseize, got the Cryptic Command a card, you know, deal some chip damage here and there, especially with the Bowmasters. Came up very, very clutch. So round 1 in the books. We're ready to take on the semifinals. See you there. Okay, semifinal time. We're playing a Vegas qualifier here. 64 players. When you lose, you're out. If you win your first pod, you draft again. So, everything to play for here. I have a decent hand here. I have the 1-2 punch of Thoughtseize Reanimate. Maybe that's awesome. And I have a Toxic Deluge. So I'm basically good against, you know, big creatures. I'm good against small creatures. Opponent is giving me a bit of respect here, which is cool. So let's see. If I Darkslick Shores, I open myself up to Wasteland, but I think with this hand, that's going to be totally acceptable. Thoughtseize our opponent, and I don't have anything nice to snag here with my Thoughtseize. Seeker's Chariot being a creature, but not really. not technically for Reanimate. So this is bad news for me because I can't... Toxic Deluge doesn't look good. I can't 1-2 punch with Reanimate. But most importantly, I just can't beat this Chariot, I feel like. So we take that card. Yeah, I'm kind of worried about this game. Like, a big artifact deck. Not my good matchup. I really need to draw some proactive stuff. Okay, my opponent draws a land. So we have full information here. My opponent mills over Phoenix Search. Develops Opal. Gitaxian Probe. I think it's okay to pay 2 life here. If I draw 2-drop, I'm happy. If I don't, it is what it is. So let's play land. We know about our opponent's hand. They can develop Monolith, Forest, Monolith. And now my opponent has a ton of mana, and I'm not really doing anything, which is scary. Island the draw. Yeah, that's just how it goes. We didn't connect on the Thoughtseize Reanimate. Our Toxic Deluge is bad. We drew a million lands, so terrible situation here. We really need some help. Wonder why the opponent would play that land out and not the Colonnade. Maybe they have another Surveil land? That's probably the reason. Or it's like, my opponent only has 1 fetchable left in the deck off of this Wooded, something along those lines. Otherwise, the Colonnade seems optimal. Let's see. Here's Vendilion Click, so now I have something to do. I think I'll draw step that. My opponent is like a big main phase sorcery speed type deck, so here's the Surveil land. Let's try and see if we can click either into a bad hand or, you know, snag a meaningful card. Get some damage rolling. That will be limited, though, because my opponent has Celestial Colonnade. Really not confident about this one. So what can I do here? I can let my opponent... I should probably let my opponent have these cards, right? They have infinite mana already for Relic. Sure, they can copy my click, but I don't think I'm supposed to draw my opponent into more stuff here. My opponent copies the click. I can attack and reanimate, I guess. I don't know. It's not perfect. I guess I can't reanimate because my opponent's going to pick the best card out of my hand. Let's see. So funnily enough, my, what's it called? Stern Scolding is good against Metamorph. Looks like my opponent is willing to go Metamorph, click my hand. That card is gone. That card is gone. And develop the Pollinate afterwards. Okay, so my opponent's down to a City of Traders. I'm kind of playing from the top of my deck. My opponent's winning heavily on board because of the Colonnade. Brazen Borrower instead of the Reanimate. And there's the Stern Scolding. So maybe I'm supposed to go bounce your click, attack for 3, Stern Scolding it on the way back. It's sad that I don't have extra mana to go, you know, raise in the same turn and actually tempo my opponent, like, for real, but we can't complain. I think this is a decent play. Let's see. Can the opponent do both? That's more the question. Like, can the opponent go Metamorph and activate Colonnade? Oh, they have better things to do. That's not good for me. Okay, okay. Cool play by the opponent. They get in first. They realize that with between the Colonnade and the Metamorph that my opponent can play, they're winning the race handily because they think my play is the Brazen Borrower. So, yeah, pretty interesting situation here. So basically, I'm hoping to get into a situation where my opponent needs to play defense with the Colonnade. That's basically all I can do here. So, let's see. Oh, my opponent found another play. That makes a lot of sense. So the race was even more, you know, favorable for the opponent. I draw a Duress, which is a terrible draw right now. Mendelian Click, attacking. So if I Toxic for 4, I'm down to 8. Maybe I have to do that. Maybe I have to do that. I think my play is kind of forced here. Toxic for 4 being incredibly bad. And then I have the Brazen Borrower that I actually should have cast, I feel like, at sorcery speed. I don't think there's any edge, since my opponent knows about this card. I don't think this is a good one. I'm just going to play it in response to the activation here. So now I have to find an answer for Celestial Colonnade on my exact next draw. Then I will mill over the Talisman to get a little bit of selection. Get in for a little bit more damage here. I need a super strong card. City of Traders getting out there. Interesting. Fairy Mastermind. Okay. Fairy Mastermind is not terrible. So now I can attack for 3, play Fairy, block, make, activate. So now do I play around Counterspell or do I play around Sorcery Speed removal? I think I'm going to play around Sorcery Speed removal. So now I kind of gain another turn, but I get 3 new looks, right? I draw 2 from Mastermind. Beginning of a combat. Play Mastermind. Let my opponent attack, then block, then activate. Because I don't want to activate first to, help my opponent draw into an answer before blockers. So draw from that, draw another. Opponent plays a land. Retrofitter. Okay, that should seal the deal. Here's Curtains, which doesn't do anything. This is a chump block. I bet the card Cryptic Command is some kind of out. Let's put this, or transform this right away. Can't attack. Terrible situation. The opponent can make a 1/1 end of turn. Let's see. This is a menace creature. Sure, there's something like Cryptic Command into something that helps me. Let's see. Celestial Colonnade gets activated. Jump block. I believe I'm playing towards Cryptic Command here. Not even Treasury does anything. Trying to see, what else do I have here? A little bit of flying blockers. Okay, so I lose game 1 here in pretty convincing fashion. That's sometimes how it goes. Like the reanimate, Toxic Reanimate, Toxic Deluge, those are either slam dunks or stinkers, right? So can we do anything smart here, or do I just add like the Star or the Gush? I wonder which one is better. Gush is good with Seed Shark, but that's about it. Star is just, cycling through your deck type of card. It's not amazing. It's not terrible. But it's a very bad Mishra's Bauble in this deck. I think that's okay. Do I have anything else I can consider? Not at all, right? So, Recurring Nightmare. If I get like Bowmasters going, maybe that's cool, but okay. Let's just submit this and see if we can draw a little bit better. Looks like this hand is fine. Do I probe turn 1, or do I wait because I might not have better plays? I guess if I draw something like Thoughtseize or Duress, I'm happy. It's always important with these type of cards, you kind of get a reason to cast your cards, so to speak. Okay, the opponent has a nice Tolarian Academy here. My hand has all the bad reactive cards against this archetype, unfortunately. Mox Pearl Academy opener. So my opponent's going to have a ton of mana from turn 2 already. Very, very bad spot for me. My deck wants to play against, like normal stuff, features, where, Scolding and Cut Down are actually good cards. Maybe this Treasury can be good later in the game, but actually this Spellbomb actually counters the Treasury, which is really unfortunate. Spellbomb resolves. I wish I had a Wasteland. Oh, my opponent even found that card. Okay, so we know about our opponent's hand. They're developing a ton of mana. So I need to get this Shark into play. Soul Guide Lantern. Really not ideal, but I am going to cycle that before my turn. I have to exile my own card here. I cycle, and I kind of have to hit some lands in a row. It's a very bad spot to be in. It's mainly caused by the fact that these interactive spells just seem very poor against my opponent. My opponent has 5 mana available now. Looks like I'll just have to live with the fact that my opponent has infinite mana. Coalition Relic, good. I'm going to cycle. I think my opponent's also going to cycle. but let's see. So draw. There's a flash. There's a worm. That's so funny. Yeah. Flash worm is definitely a way to win the game. Let's see if this spell bomb is cracked. Doesn't look like it, unfortunately. Am I casting this card now? Am I playing around counter spells or playing around sorcery type speed? Sorcery stuff. I don't know. I'm gonna pass here. Also, I gave my opponent a chance to crack the spell bomb for a card. They didn't go for that. Let's see. The opponent kept the card on top. Let's see what that is. Okay. The opponent's looking for something, and if they like it, they can cycle into it with spell bomb. Okay, so my opponent has no Flooded Strand, I think. Yeah, no Flooded Strand, but they still have the Forest. Yeah, that card resolves. So here's the thing. Should I give my opponent this info about the top card, or should I just flash now? I feel like I want to flash now, because there is some world where my opponent has, I don't know, one counterspell in their deck, and they go for, like, some gamble on the spell bomb here without knowing what's on top. Let's see. I'm actually really not sure how to play this flash out this game. It resolved, which is awesome for me. Now I have 3 5/5s. My opponent can deal with one of them. The opponent can't trip into a planes here. They have to pass a turn. Okay. So now I get one of them bounced and get in for 10. I'm really putting pressure on here. Yes, fine. So now it's basically, do I respect the Metamorph, or do I develop the Shark? Pretty tough call here. I'm gonna develop the Shark, but that was not an easy call to make. My opponent has 2 lands in hand and 1 unknown. Basically infinite mana. I can't even draw land to go Treasury. I can draw Crypt to go Treasury, but no land. My opponent with white here from the Relic, which is either very bad news or just the top option for the opponent. Winds of Abandon. Yoink. Okay, very, very nice answer here for the opponent. I get to search up 3 lands, I believe. So now I have Treasury on Sentinel, and I kind of have to play from there. Map, draw into another land. So basically right now my opponent has infinite mana, but not much to do with it, thankfully. So do I play Creeping Tar Pit? I don't play Creeping Tar Pit. I was trying to look for a reason to wait with my land drop here. Treasury. Magic Online is confused. Let's see what happens here. Treasury on that. Untap 5 lands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I actually forgot I'm not even getting the ETB, so the Tar Pit didn't do anything. In my mind, I was getting a map there. I mean, now I have my opponent's mid-range threat, but the problem is that card is easily outclassed by my opponent's deck. So now I'm begging for my opponent to draw the Metamorph. My hand is just so situational. We're on turn 5. Reanimate didn't do anything this game. Let's see. I'm begging for the Metamorph, which is so funny. Oko. Okay. That is very unfortunate for me. I wonder what the opponent's going to do now. They could just turn the Sentinel into a 3/3, to be honest. They don't. Okay. Okay, so my opponent has 2 lands in hand, but they have an active Oko. This is very bad for me. I need to draw some flyers. Okay, that is a flyer. Yeah, I will try and attack my opponent's Oko here. Because Oko is, a life gain spell, etc. So the opponent takes the damage onto the Oko. Wonder what I should do with my map token here. Maybe it's better for me to do it on my flyer, but then I can't click my opponent in the draw step. I guess that means I'm mapping onto the Sentinel. Do I want a Soul Ring? I don't. I want to put it in my graveyard. Yes. So pass. Draw step click. Hope for the best. So I'm just gonna. Yeah, I think I have to do that. I can't allow my opponent to draw a banger here. Click my opponent. See a banger. That is a 4/5, so I can't counter it with Scolding, so I get rid of it. Yeah, I don't know. Some lands here. The opponent has one unknown. I hope that's Metamorph for a small creature. Opponent is turning that one into a 3/3, interestingly. So that means, I don't know, actually. Does my opponent have an answer for the click, or are they giving up Oko? What are we looking at here? Could be... They could be giving up Oko here, which is... I mean, that gives me a chance, right? My opponent only has lands, most likely. Maybe some reactive blue spell, I guess. I draw Mana Crypt. It's a terrible draw. So let's see. If I attack with Sentinel here, I can reanimate it afterwards. So that's like a good exchange for me, even though it doesn't necessarily look like it. So I go attack face with Sentinel to force the block. I attack Oko. I get my map here, which is kind of cool. Opponent with the double block. I'm getting rid of Oko here. I guess that didn't happen. So now my opponent paid 4 mana to get rid of click here to make Oko survive. That's cool. Okay, that works. So now I go reanimate on the Sentinel. Get another map. Question is, what do I do with this map? Oko can go to 5 loyalty next turn. Let's read this. Phase is out. I believe it's until... I'll actually have to look that up. Phase out. MTG. It's a mechanic where permanents may phase out, causing them to be treated as if they don't exist until they automatically phase back in on their next untap step. Problem is, what if it happens instant speed? Is it then the opponent's turn? The thing is, mapping onto the Sentinel doesn't do a whole lot. But it might set up some selection for my draw. So it's kind of weird situation. Do I want a Fairy Mastermind? I think I do, yes. So maybe I just accept that, draw that card. Then I have another map ready for the click to grow it. Okay, so perfect. It's my opponent can't do anything about it now, sorcery speed. But next turn I can map onto it. So if Oko's on 4 loyalty, that's awesome. We knew about that. No, we didn't know about that card, actually. That was a bad draw from the opponent. Now the opponent can make that into a 3/3. Sure. So now the opponent has this double block situation lined up, and I'm actually flying in and killing the Oko this time around. Well, I guess if I hit a spell off the top, that's actually a pretty valid point. Okay, so this could backfire. Let's see. I do hit a spell. Mana Leak. I'm gonna mill over the Mana Leak. That is not a good card. My opponent will have a lot of mana. Let's see. They are down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is only enough to counter like 4 drops. So let's put this into the graveyard. Kill Oko, stand back. Probably the line. Get rid of... Yeah, let's just kill Oko here. My opponent kind of banked on me hitting a land here. Very, very fortunate for me that I did not. So now I have a good Air Force. And funnily enough, if nothing changes, I'm actually not going to activate the Fairy Mastermind. I think in this spot, my opponent drawing 1 card is more risky, you know, than me drawing 2. I don't want that trade at this point in the game. It's on my opponent to, you know, come up with a solution here. Expedition map works. I am excited to see what kind of stuff they have. With Talon gone, Academy in play. Yeah, let's just see what the opponent brings to class. Oh, yeah. I almost forgot about that. Celestial Colonnade, that's a good one. So now I'm going to play Mastermind. I'm not going to activate. I'm going to attack for 6 in the air. Borrower is awesome because that makes it... now I can attack with Sentinel and kind of blow out my opponent. So I get a map. I think I'm just bouncing the Talisman. That makes the most sense, I think. Bounce the Talisman. Heal 6, eat that thing. Oh, my opponent's at 3 life. What I want to do is map onto the Fairy, I believe, to have more lethal creatures. Map onto the Fairy. Cryptic Command. I'm very happy to draw that card. Not going to put it into my graveyard. So now I have whatever of these 2 I need and the Brazen Borrower available at instant speed. So it looks like we got the job done game 2 here, barring an amazing draw from the opponent, which is, unfortunately, very possible in Vintage Cube. Oof, the dream there with even the Winds of Abandon. That's situationally a card that can just crush me. Let's see if the opponent found anything. I mean, they're still playing the game, so I just assume they found something. Balance. Is that a card the opponent's good enough to draw at this point? Balance doesn't work. Frantic Surge. That does work. So I'm going to draw an extra card here, but my opponent has no choice. And now my opponent has to beat me with those cards. Yeah, Oko is just so scary. The opponent untaps the lands, and then before I draw with Fairy, this is cool by the opponent. Look at this. Ancestral Recall. You got me? My opponent could be on for a comeback here. Well, I knew I was drawing the Cryptic, so now, of course, it's going to be harder. Very good play by the opponent there to respond to my draw. I'm not going to care about the top. I have lethal in many, many ways here, so I'm only going to care about something that really stabilizes the opponent. My opponent basically needs, you know, back-to-back must counter to be in this game. My opponent's deck looks incredibly scary. Mox and Ancestral in the Academy deck. I need to be very lucky to win this match. My opponent's still playing on, which is always a bad sign. Obviously, they want to... Ooh, Workshop. Okay. The Workshop helps with the whole, I need to play 2 must counters to have a chance this game. So probably my opponent's going to ask me a tough question in a second. Draw. Sure. White and 3 artifact mana. So we know about... No, let's see what this is. I was about to say we know about the Catmobile. Walking Ballista for 2. So funnily enough, we can Stern Scolding that card, but then I don't have Cryptic up. So I'm going to let this resolve, mainly because I have a cut down to take care of it. An annoying card, that's for sure. So now, end of turn, I believe I go cut down. I realize my opponent can respond to that. But then I think my opponent's using some mana they can't afford, basically. So I'll try and cut down that card. There's some like weird situation that the opponent can get me here. So if my opponent puts a counter on Ballista in response here, I like that play. I play a Brazen. My opponent has 3 counters. That's enough to... Let's see. My opponent has 3 counters, so that's enough to block. Ping twice. Ping. But my opponent still needs 1 more answer to win this game. Let's play this out. Look at the opponent's top card for a tiny bit of info. Actually, I know about the top. That was not a good play. So I think if I hang on to my Cryptic here, I'll be fine. My opponent will need 2 things here to win this game. Let's see. Ping, 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 take 3. Yeah. Resolves. 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 I try and deal my opponent 4 damage. Okay, that works. The opponent did a good job there. Wow, that deck is so scary. Okay, we're going to game 3 here, and I need to... feel like I have to be lucky to win this. What I saw out of my opponent's deck, they're ahead on paper, that's for sure. Is there a world where I prefer, instead of having 2 mana draw a card, do I prefer having just another card that works with flash? So my ratio is kind of bad because it's 1+2, but it's still like more likely that I get my B piece. Doesn't change my A piece, but it changes my B piece. Is that how desperate I am? I think that could be the case. Looking at the sideboard, I can't do much. I don't even know this card, to be honest. Looks like some random graveyard hate. Good aggro card. Is Carnage going to do anything? Like, nah, I don't think so. I mean, I think my deck looks reasonable, but it's just not ready for the whole go big type deck. I really need to get the chip damage in just to stand a chance. This is definitely what you want to see. I have Flash Worm in my hand. I mean, what can you say? Those cards are very capable of winning any game of Magic, to be honest. I have a Bauble for a tiny bit of info, but unless I see like a counter on top of my opponent's deck or a balance or something, I'm going for this card. Land Mox. Ass. And I also draw Primus, which is funny. So my opponent will go for Surveil land, so I'll actually stay put here on the Bauble. Kind of a funny dynamic. My opponent's going to do it because it's a tap land, so I'm going to let that trigger resolve, and then I'm going to look what my opponent wanted to keep. Another land. Okay, they kept the land on top. That's kind of weak. I like that. And I draw Gitaxian Probe, so I might even be able to play with full information here. Talisman put into the graveyard. Maybe like a Relic here or a Ballista. Walking Ballista it is. Okay. So I guess we probe our opponent to see what's going on. And now it's going to be... Ooh, No More Lies. Okay, I guess the card No More Lies really makes this an easy decision because now I just cast Flash. I go for Worms because they're awesome. Worldspine Worm. Get the boys. And now my opponent is drawing a random card, but my opponent can go Beza. Beza is a card that lets my opponent draw a card, gain 4, and get some fish tokens. So definitely not a bad card here. Pretty good in this spot. I draw a Dig Through Time. Medallion Click might not be the best card in the world, but reasonable. That card is gone. That card is gone. My opponent has a counter spell, so I have to remember that. I don't think I have more other moves than attacking here. My opponent knows about Brazen Borrower, but that's how it goes. I killed a big creature. I get in for 10. I feel like what I'm supposed to do now is... do I want to let my opponent counter this click? Or do I want to play it now? It doesn't do a whole lot because my opponent has Walking Ballista. Maybe I just play it now because it can theoretically get rid of something like Wrath type card right now. Okay, I'm gonna let my opponent keep this counterspell because it's on them to win this game. I'm not gonna help them draw into that kind of stuff. So Medallion Click trades easily with Click, but my opponent is in trouble here. They drew that card, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, so my opponent can put a counter on. Yeah, I know about my opponent's hand, so they now have 1 draw to get there. That's not good. Click's dead. Opponent's attacking for 1. They're planning the double block here to go to 1 life. So I need to find 1 damage in this game. I can now cast Dig Through Time, except I can't because of No More Lies, I guess. Okay. Let's get in there with the worms. Double block. Sure. The opponent is now at 1 life. I'm going to hang on to the Dig Through Time because there is a world my opponent taps out for, let's see. Is that card gone? No. Is that card gone? No. They have those 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's say they tap out for Winds of Abandon, which is an out of theirs. Then I can resolve the Dig Through Time. So yeah, I guess I just pass. See if we can fade the draw step. Looks like we did fade the draw step. The opponent shows the GGs, and we're on to the finals of the first pod. We overcame a terrible matchup. Like, the Academy Mox Ancestral deck with good stuff to do, even a workshop in there for, good measure. But I drew the Flash and the Worm. That was not fair. But that's what the card does. It's actually a card combination that beat me in the Mox, I remember. But yeah, we can't really mess around here. We need to look forward and try and take down the next match. We now have eliminated the Ancestral Mox deck. I have a couple of the good pieces, so maybe we play against an aggro deck and we can do some good things with Toxic Deluge the last round. That's definitely what I'm dreaming about. All right. Whew. I'm going to take some air, fresh air, some water, and I'll be ready for the pod finals. Don't go anywhere. All right, guys. As we are waiting for round 3, I just want to take a quick moment to appreciate that 64 players fought hard the previous weekend to get this token. Now, there's only 16 of us remaining. 75% of all players are eliminated. You can go through this list. There's going to be tons of PT champions, hugely accomplished grinders, just world-class players, and they didn't make it this far, right? So the point about that is you can still be incredibly happy to be there and still give it your all, right? So I use it as a double-edged sword in the good direction. So I'm incredibly humble that I'm able to play in these awesome spots that wake the feelings inside me. Like, I'm so excited now, like a kid for Christmas. But I also realize it's like the odds are not in my favor, but I'm gonna do whatever it takes to, try and get out on top. That's what it means to be competitive. You appreciate the moment and you do everything in your power to get there. So with that said, let's get to round 3. I believe I'm playing against the Rock Doctor in the pod finals. Have a nice match. I would in fact like to play first. Thanks for asking. So what can we say about this hand? This hand is not the greatest, but it's something, right? So Do I go Lantern turn 1, or is it better to get the curtains down? There's something to be said about if I wait with the Lantern, there's like some super off chance that opponent goes turn 1, what do I know? Faithless Looting, put something into the yard, surveil something into the yard, and then I'm able to get that. And if I just go Swamp, I'm not exiling anything on my own stuff, so I'm not hurting myself by doing that. The only downside is something like getting, I guess I have Duress and Thoughtseize, so it's like I lose this to Inquisition or Grief, and then my opponent is some Reanimator deck, but yeah, I'm not going to worry too much about that, but it's just good to be aware of, because then you can make a good decision for yourself. So what I'm going to do here is turn 1 curtains. Opponent's on a mulligan to 6. I mean, my hand is not very strong, so it's like almost a mulligan to 6. So I have turn 1 curtains, turn 2 Lantern, probably cycle it, turn 3 click. So I get to look at my opponent's hand a bunch here. Might even flip this turn 3, depending on how things go. And then I have some evasive damage, a little bit of menace, a little bit of flying. Like, this is obviously not the top draws of my deck, but it's good enough to not throw it back. My opponent finds a 6 that they are happy with, and we're off to the races. Turn 1 curtains. If the opponent's attacking out of some Boros combination aggro deck, it's fine. Okay, so Shock Mox. Bristly Bill. That is a good card to develop turn 1. I wish I had a removal spell for it. Okay, here's a Duress, which is actually quite fine, because hopefully I can take away one of my opponent's plays. I couldn't. Okay, so my opponent's mono creature, which, funnily enough, is a problem for my hand. Yeah, I basically undo my opponent's mulligan there, and now, because I couldn't take anything, I actually have to, get rid of a card in my own yard, which is not ideal with Dig Through Time in your deck. I guess the opponent playing Tarmogoyf, it worked out fine. Let's see here. The opponent decides to go to combat. I'm not going to respect the burn spell here. It's a good play from the opponent to, if they draw a burn spell, kind of slow roll the land here. But I guess they could have gone land, pump it up, play Ignoble, attack for 4. So the opponent kind of missed dealing 4 damage here. Also, at this point, we don't know what that Reclaimer is representing, but we do know the Reclaimer is awesome with Bristly Bill when it comes to +1/+1 counters. So let's see what the opponent goes for here. Looks like Reclaim. Okay, they go Ignoble. That's fine. So they could have gone those 2 cards on the first main phase, so maybe they just accidentally... That's very lucky for me. I saved 4 life there. So now I draw Cryptic Command. That's not bad. Now the question is, am I gonna... So let's see. Mountain gone, Ignoble gone. Am I gonna click? Or am I gonna curtain? If I go curtain, I flip it now and attack for 3. If I go click, I get to choose from more cards. Not attack this turn, though. And I'm not blocking, since if my opponent has any land, this is a 5/5 thanks to Exalted as well. So I'm not blocking. That's actually a big one here. So maybe I go fetch island, so I give myself the chance to draw another island and have Cryptic up next turn. Flip the curtains, see those 2 cards and 1 unknown. And a Zenith. So at this point, I'm basically asking myself, do I believe Green Sun Zenith is a better card than Reclaimer? I would imagine yes, even though Reclaimer is really annoying. I'm going to take the Zenith, and then I'm going to attack for 3. Trade some damage here. And then I'm basically saying Tarmogoyf and... what was the other card? And Reclaimer, those cards will have to be dealt with. I'm basically trying to tempo out my opponent here with flying/evasive damage. Ooh, that's cool. Inti. And what's the unknown card? Maybe the opponent discards like Tarmogoyf to look deeper here. I don't know. Tarmogoyf, Reclaimer, and one unknown. Let's see what the opponent discards here. Discards Reclaimer, even though... Okay, I was actually quite scared about Reclaimer, and but I can also see why the opponent thinks it's a bit mana intensive here. So the opponent attacks for 5. It's a good swing, not gonna lie. And then the opponent can deploy a Tarmogoyf. It looks like we have some kind of racing situation going on here. Here's Tarmogoyf. Oh, Lotus Cobra and then Goyf. Okay, that's cool. The opponent has a lot of low to the ground stuff here. Toxic Deluge, anyone? Throwing the Inti, playing a Goyf. I draw this land, which is a decent draw. However, I don't think that's how I'm winning this game. How do we feel about playing land and attacking? So the thing about attacking is, attacking puts my opponent to 12. 3 plus 3 is 12. So if I can set up some situation, that is good. But the problem is it doesn't look like that's going to happen. My opponent can even double the amount of counters if they draw land. So maybe I'm supposed to upkeep the Cryptic Command, dig for something like Treachery, maybe? What happens if I attack here? The opponent blocks with, let's say, Tarmogoyf and Inti. Can I do anything cool? Let's say I bounce the Tarmogoyf, I draw a card, then I kill this Inti. Am I winning a game like that? Maybe not. What if I stay back? Am I winning a game like that? I think this game is about trying to tempo out my opponent, or I guess draw to that freaking Toxic Deluge. Maybe Treachery is also on that list. What happens if my opponent blocks with Inti and Cobra? Yeah, it's quite bad for me, I think. I think I have to pass here, upkeep the Cryptic to basically steal mana from my opponent. It's either that or believe my opponent will draw a spell that they're willing to cast first main. Nah. I think this is how I play. Tap draw. Very annoying I couldn't attack here, because then I would have to use my Cryptic Command in a kind of a bad way. It is possible I was supposed to try and sneak in damage there. Let's see. Ooh, wow. Oh, what did I miss here? Oh, it's 5! I actually thought it was 6. Okay. Okay. That is brutal. Okay, Brazen is not bad. Let's see what the opponent drew for the turn. Yeah, that is brutal. I didn't think about that. Mana Leak, which doesn't do a whole lot. So now... I can attack. I can bounce my opponent's Bristly Bill. I can click it away. I can take a bunch of damage. Is that a game I have a shot in? How do I craft a game plan that actually lets me win? That is the question here. Because I can do some stuff to, stay alive a little bit, but that's not going to change. Can you imagine my opponent being at 12 here and I found that attack? And my opponent didn't block, I guess. That's the whole point of that. Crazy. And now I'm attacking. A bit half-hearted, I would say. I guess I click my opponent on draw. Is that correct? Let's see. I'm not entirely convinced this is correct, but let's see. Get a bit more info here about the opponent's deck. Noble. I'm not going to care about Noble, so I'm going to let my opponent keep that card. So now what am I looking for here? I'm looking for some kind of tempo play with Brazen Borrower. I'm not even sure that exists. Let's see. If I end up sacrificing Lantern on my opponent's yard, I get rid of creature and sorcery, but I have 3 other types, so I can shrink the Tarmogoyf to a 3/4, which is not a 2/3. Now my opponent can kind of spread their eggs around. Okay. I like how my opponent played this. Trying to say I don't want to get, tempoed by some removal spell or whatever. Great play by the opponent. Let's see. Looks like a pretty easy attack all here. My opponent discards the Noble. Let's see what they hit. Let's see what they plus. Can I fizzle the ability, or is it 2 different abilities? It's 2 different abilities. Okay, so I guess we let that happen. Opponent finds a forest, which is a brick. So if I brazen the bill, I take 4, 6, 10, 11. So we'll have to do that. And now I'm wondering if the treasury is even enough. Oh, my opponent can double these. Yeah, I keep forgetting that. So is this lethal? 6, 10, 14. Now I have to block. Yeah, I mean, block there, I guess. I can prevent 1 damage if I want to from Goyf. Heal 3. Creature goes to the yard. Creature... Yeah, that's not going to help. Okay. Very tough situation here. I draw Chrome Host Seed Shark, which is not a card that does anything here, I believe. I think I have to draw from Lantern. Then I can Mana Leak, but this is a big Trampler. It is problematic for sure. Do I have any double black in my deck? I don't. I do have Barrogoyf. I would love to draw that card right now. Draw? Draw Flash, which is not a good card. So what happens if I play Seed Shark? Then my opponent attacks here. I have to chump. Yep, I'm just dead here. Okay. Okay. The opponent's very aggressive. What can I do, if anything, to help that a little bit? I don't think anything. Treasury is good. Deluge is good. Barrogoyf is awesome. Soul Guide Lantern is probably just terrible. Maybe I'm back on the Primus logic here. I don't think that's horrible. I'm not excited by it either, but okay, let's try that. Okay, down a game here, facing elimination. My opponent is halfway to Vegas, having won, 4 in the feeder league, 2 here in a game. That's half of 13. But yeah, I need to come back here and win 2 games in a row against what looks to be a deck that puts on a lot of pressure. So I need to draw some of my good cards, like, Bowmaster your mana to work, clear your board, play a lifelinker, steal your guy, all of that stuff, A little bit of flash action, a little bit of reanimation on one of the opponent's baddies. We have decent decent shots at it here. Let's see, is this the hand that can do it? There's a Sol Ring, which makes for turn 2 click, which is a bit weird. Not even turn 3 cryptic. But we take it. Here's the Sol Ring. Let's see, the opponent goes Halfling. I draw the 3rd one here, which is not bad. Kind of feel like I'm not clicking my opponent here. I feel like I want to wait. My opponent has so many cards. I would rather my opponent, place the wrong card because they didn't think about, click or fairy, or maybe, respected counters too much. So now I'm looking to end step click and hold up Cryptic Command. Oh, it looks like we're... Which legend is this? Bristly Bill? Okay, that's awesome. Oh, Jace. Okay. Jace hits the field. Opponent plays around counter magic. And now... I guess I'm supposed to play Mastermind here, mainly because it's good against Jace. And I probably want to Cryptic next turn, so I can't even flash in against Jace. So maybe I just do like this. Prismatic Vista, not a very exciting draw. I'll play my third island out because of Cryptic. Attack for 2, pass. So right now I'm looking like somebody who held up Counter Magic turn 2. Let's see. My opponent finds a good line. I hope they don't have more legendaries. My plan B is just jamming more flash threats, which is good for now. Jace Prodigy is really bad against Fairy Mastermind here. I'm sad I couldn't, punish my opponent for like flashing it in response, but I think it's better to hold up Cryptic this turn. It's not simple though. I'm also wondering if the opponent has a removal spell like, Bolt, Path, Plow, stuff like that, how do they time it here? So I'm also asking myself, if nothing happens, am I activating Macabre? Not Macabre, not Fair Macabre. Am I activating Mastermind, or am I flashing in the Click? I'm probably flashing in the Click for numerous reasons. Also, Click is very good, actually, with Mastermind. I didn't think about that. Okay, here's NT, so the opponent... There's a land. Let's see what this is. This is Kavu. I actually think this is time for me to go Cryptic. Kavu. What's the alternative here? Alternative is Kavu resolves. My opponent passes. I flash in the Click, and now attack for 5 in the air. The opponent has how much on the ground? Maybe this is a tempo game. I'm actually going to allow this. I think this is a tempo game. Wonder if the opponent's going to pitch into Inti right now to attack for 1. I doubt it. Better to loot on my turn, I would imagine. So now I give up card advantage in order to try and close out my opponent simply. So card like Pyrokinesis wrecks me big time here. Actually, I am gaining card advantage here. Unless my opponent has Pyrokinesis in response, I guess. That would be terrible for me. Ooh, nice hand, opponent. Would be a shame if something happened to it, though. Let's see. Path to Exile is something that disrupts me for sure. Opponent does not have blue mana. That's a game I want to play, probably. So take the Path, because I know that card is good. I draw an extra card here off Mastermind. The opponent's getting some good looks in here. Barrogoyf is a weird card right now. That makes it a tiny bit better. Yeah, let's just use this on myself. I draw Treasury next turn. I will definitely like that. Play land, attack for 5. Can't play Goyf. I'm 1 mana short. I want to prioritize the Cryptic here. So now the opponent can activate Jace before their turn, which is a good play. That triggers the Inti, and yeah, good stuff all around. There's a Ketria Triome. I draw a card on my opponent's upkeep from Bauble. Let's see if my opponent wants to respond to that. They don't. I have Cryptic Command and Treasury. Pretty darn good cards. My opponent has Eternal Witness, Time Walk, and Ketria Triumph, 1 unknown. So I'm kind of slowly but surely crafting a game plan here. Or executing it, rather, because the game plan was crafted some turns ago where I kind of realized, okay, tempo is the name of the game. I will get out-muscled by this deck. So I wonder if my opponent is looking to... Okay, they're saying, I have double walk next turn, which is actually quite huge. So opponent attacks for 6. I could have done something cool there. Kind of missed. So I draw an extra card here. I like that. And the opponent gets some inty stuff going on. Botanical sinks, and that doesn't help my opponent. That's a good hit for me. I actually could have done a awesome play here and went tap my opponent's creatures at the beginning of a combat, bounce that Ketria Charm that my opponent played. Did I miss the boat there? Could have missed the boat a little bit. Mox? Okay. That's not fun. So it looks like I'm kind of getting bailed out here. So Time Walk, very, very strong card right now. Counter and what exactly? Maybe bounce the Kavu. Counter bounce the Kavu. My opponent plays Eternal Witness, gets back the walk, but that's how it goes. Counter bounce. And then my opponent can replay the Kavu. That does delay the Witness a little bit, but I'm not sure that's nice. Bouncing the Kavu. I have to think here. What's my next move? If I don't draw anything, I have Treasury on... So my opponent's going to have 3 consecutive turns, but I have a 3/4 right now, which is going to be even better because instant and sorcery is going to put into the yard. So Baragorf is going to be very, very strong. So how do I win this game? Do I steal my opponent's inti and start going to town? Is that how I play? I'm drawing because it's so tough to look into the future here and see if this mana from the opponent right now is going to be important. I feel like then, okay, so what's going on here? If my opponent replays Kavu, then next turn, opponent loots, opponent goes Eternal Witness counter spells, Eternal Witness time walk. So next turn, the opponent kind of has to tap out to make their play, which is better for me because I play exactly Mana Leak. So there's something to be said about if I can spike that. Wow, what an absurd spot. Counter the time walk for sure. The opponent's 1 off from going Jace it now. Counter return. There's also this point that I'm supposed to bounce the Inti, because then if my opponent plays it, I steal an untapped Inti, which is better. Maybe that's the line. Okay. Ah, jeez. Super, super sick spot here. Thanks for sticking with me throughout. This is just the best game ever. Like that, like Magic as a whole. This is a good game, don't get me wrong, but it's not the best game ever. Magic is just amazing. So what does the opponent do here? My opponent's 1 off from going Jace's Prodigy Time Walk, which would be a good play, but 1 card off from the yard. My opponent can go Eternal Witness, return the Time Walk, develop some stuff. The opponent can also go Inti. Let's see if my opponent... It's very hard for my opponent to predict what I'm going to do here, right? So basically my... Eternal Witness, Inti. Wow. So now I actually get to see what the opponent's what the opponent's doing here. Ooh, what is the opponent doing here? Hull Breacher? 2-mana counter, I guess, is more likely than Hull Breacher. So let's see, what if I pay mana here? Do I have mana for that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like I can pay mana for this probe. Let's see. That's my famous last words. Endurance. Okay, I like this from the opponent. Very nice play. The opponent wanted to snipe my attack here. Very nice play. So, Endurance, Inti, Ease. Can't attack. I will get my stuff eaten. That is very bad for me. Still feel like I'm on the treasury plan. If I treasury my opponent's Jace, the only point of that would be to basically chump block it away. If my opponent decides to pitch Endurance in response to flip it, I think that's fine for me. So maybe I do that. Let's see. There's a land in the yard, so I can play. Play land. Treachery the Jace. Not my favorite play in the world. Let me put it that way. My opponent decides to go cast Endurance now. That would actually be a good play from the opponent, because then if I have something like Daze or Force of Will, I'll help flip my opponent's Daze. Just a little bit of what would be good timing for the opponent. Oof, Endurance. I didn't think about that card. So me drawing the probe there was pretty clutch. Yeah, my opponent's deck just looks awesome. Also pretty funny with their name, I guess. I didn't think about that until now. Here is an activation of Jace, Rinse Prodigy, so that I get a tap 1 that doesn't do anything. This will likely resolve, then I'll play a big Barrogoyf. The problem Barrogoyf is my opponent can kind of control it with Endurance, but maybe that's acceptable. Oof, Endurance. Wow, that is so good against my plan. Inti hits the yard, so my opponent drew better spells. Can't say I like that. So I guess once this happens, I can respond. And, you know, float the mana, kind of free. So now I go Barrogoyf. Barrogoyf is a big boy here. Can't attack because Endurance. Here comes the Endurance. My opponent now has a single time walk. I have 3 types. My opponent has land. Yeah, of course, my opponent's not going to Endurance their own graveyard with Witness in play, so my yard disappears, and I'm down to creature, sorcery, land. So a 3/4 Barrogoyf doesn't line up too well against the Kavu. So I actually have to make a tough decision. If I just trade off right away or wait with that decision. Here comes Endurance. 3/4 Barrogoyf, as I said. Eternal Witness, the last card that I know about. My opponent has 2 more cards, though, so really not ideal. I'm thinking about using Fairy Mastermind to claw back into this game. What kind of comeback do I have in this deck? I think maybe this is just time for the Nether Goyf, or the Goyf to block. Let's see if my opponent messes up here. They don't. You get an extra card here. I didn't think about that. So my opponent is looking to get in 4 damage. What if I double block with 2 of my flyers? Then what kind of situation do we have here? Some kind of stalemate. And also I just lost my graveyard, so I actually have quite some good selection going here. Double blocking with my flyers. I don't hate it. Okay, let's try. the double block. I will Stern Scolding the Witness. I will use, I guess, yeah, I don't know. Jace is getting a bit worse, I guess, when I'm putting 2 cards into the yard. Eternal Witness, Stern Scolding. 4 or 5 lifelinker. Strip Mine getting me out of black, which is annoying, but looks like manageable. One has 1 card left. Here it comes. And that is Tireless Tracker. Okay, so we have some kind of stalemate here. The opponent has a little bit of engine going on. I have 4 cards in the yard, so I can't activate Jace now, rather. So, yes, attacking here is decent. I gained 4 life if my opponent double blocks. We have the actual stalemate, so we'll try and force the issue a little bit. Does my opponent believe that my last 3 remaining cards are bad or good? If they, okay, make it in for 4. Get to mill 4 cards. Yes, please. Do you want this creature? Yeah, I guess. Let's see how this works. I actually don't know. Okay, I get to keep it in hand. Nice. Actually, I had no idea. I guess we develop land here. We get some life there. My opponent is in a spot where land is a good draw because of tracker. Spell is a good draw because spell. Vengevine, not a bad draw. My opponent has to consider, though, what to do. Maybe it's something like attacking with the middle creature, staying back for the double block for Vengevine and Halfling? I don't know. The opponent gets in for 6. I think I'm supposed to accept that. What can we draw? I can draw a copy of Cutdown, which is convenient because the double block I can now punish. Go to 11. Cut down the Halfling. Gain 4. Get rid of the Vengevine. I guess play Underground Sea. I'm kind of bolstering my life every time I hit with Goyf. Opponent draws that, which is a clue. That's part of the reason why Tracker is such a good card. Oh, interesting. My opponent doesn't crack the clue. But now it looks like they want to double block again. I feel like I should accept that because the Tracker is not gonna... It's gonna age poorly for me, so to speak. So, I guess force the trade. Go to 19. I have a lot of good draws on my deck. Yeah. Now, I want to pass the turn. Not sure if holding that land is any good, but let's see. My opponent now has a few cards to work with. They have a Vengevine in the yard, so even just drawing, a couple of bad mana creatures will be useful. No play by the opponent. I draw Cryptic Command, which must be one of the best cards in my deck. Let's pass. So now it's about finding the flash before dying to, small stuff. Also, there's a good point here, actually, that's worth noting. My opponent could... Yeah, so what I think is coming here is the opponent slow rolled a mana creature in order to find the second creature and trigger Vengevine. Let's see if that's the case. Ooh, that looks like the opponent was supposed to slow roll that creature. This card doesn't do much in play. Toxic Deluge, which is a fun one. Don't need that. Okay, so I think I'm in good shape here. I need to click some buttons. No fetching. The opponent probably has some landfall stuff. So now maybe the opponent drew a creature, realized they could have slow rolled. So should they slow roll once more, or what should they do? This looks like a pretty easy cryptic command to me. So let's counter and draw. I kind of figure that must be the opponent's draw. If they had drew it last turn, they would have played it, so Swamp is an atrocious draw. I have an O2 blocker for their 1-2 attacker. It looks like we're in a situation where I can draw like Dig Through Time, Flash, cantrips. I can't remember which ones I have. Okay, the opponent's going to block here. Maybe to just, take time away from my clock, which is super reasonable. Maybe there's some kind of trick. Let's see. Definitely like the play. We're playing a win around here. Here's Concealing Curtains. I'm going to flip it right away, see what happens. Can't really imagine my opponent has a good card in hand. Swamp, definitely not a good card. Let's pass. Opponent with the thinning here, I believe. Yep, no Surveil. That would have hit the table last turn. The opponent's showing a bit of sense of urgency here. Worth noting is my Toxic may be good this game. So now, annoyingly enough, my opponent has mana to double the counters on Bristly Bill, so I have to do it for 4, which is very annoying. Maybe I can wait a turn, see if I can find a spot removal. There's Flash. Okay, that's super sick. So now I don't have to do anything. I can... Maybe I should just Flash now. Yeah, let's just Flash now. I don't think it's very good to wait. Flash. Pass. And then my opponent needs a Miracle card. Opponent can double the counters here end of turn. Noble, sure. And swinging for lethal, forcing game 3. Opponent's activating. All right, game 3 coming up. So basically, this is just green aggressive creatures getting in there with a little bit of Time Walk package with Eternal Witness and Jace in for good measure. So opponents are really staying true to their name here with the Rug Doctor. And my sideboard still can't do anything no matter how many times I look at it. Actually, now I'm just thinking about, is this a line I'm supposed to take? Am I supposed to go 1 Mountain, 1 Steam Vents, Grim Lavamancer? Nah, I don't think so. Even though Grim Lavamancer would be kind of cool, but Star is also a package. Am I talking myself into having that over the Primus? Grim Lavamancer against Mana Dorks is quite good, but I can't play it early, so it's not really reliable. Okay, I guess we submit here. We hope for the best. Game 3 for the marbles here, trying to escape the first odd. Looks like a hand that doesn't do anything but has potential, something I often talk about on the channel. It's important to realize your hand's potential. You can usually go, this hand does nothing, throw it back. But this hand is like, I can accelerate out some Shark, Barrogoyf, Toxic Deluge. Maybe I can cast a Dig Through Time before I was supposed to cast a Dig Through Time. So I think this hand is playable. Not super excited about it, though. Wonder with the land pass. So, funnily enough, that's my second blue. So I could build towards Cryptic, or I could say I'm cycling. I'm actually going to make a tough decision here and use it to cycle. It's tough because I want to get to Cryptic Command eventually, right? The opponent Can develop Lightning Greaves. Okay, so let's cycle. One card deeper towards... Wow, that was the worst card in my deck, unfortunately. Unfortunately, I need some help. Treasury can be a kind of help, but let's see. Don't have double blue for the time being. Also, my opponent has Lightning Greaves, so actually something I didn't think about. Maybe Treasury is one of the worst cards in my deck as well. Huh, the opponent has a weird draw here with only those two colors. I can't really do anything in the meantime, though, which is kind of funny. Cut Down is a card that is good in response to equipping, I guess, but right now I'm looking to find, ironically, I'm looking to find... Oh, let's see what the opponent does here. Ooh, great play, actually. And they held up that instead of playing into 2-mana counter, which is worth mentioning for sure. I lose my land here, so now I'm even further from the dig through time. I can't cut down Endurance because it has 7 combined power and toughness. Here's white, so now maybe my opponent can play more magic. 3 mana, 4 mana, yeah, Vengevine. That's a good card. So now my opponent will get in for 7. I'm not doing anything. If I draw an island, I can treasury one of the cards. I draw Flash. Flash is an amazing card now because I think I'm supposed to do it now, kill my opponent's... Well, maybe just kill 2 lands, actually. Flash, Primus. Yeah, I think I'm supposed to do this. So, not going to pay. Kill land. Kill... Yes? This land? Yeah, let's do that. I'm killing 2 lands, and I'm kind of stabilizing here. Am I playing this land out? Probably. Stabilizing to an extent here, but I have Mana Crypt in play. I gave myself a shot here. Not too happy about how this looks, but I think I had to play like this. Opponent can't attack. I need to draw Island here. Then I'm kind of cruising. Island, and I have a game plan. Won the flip. Draw Island. Drew the frickin' Island. Pick control. Untap. So now I bet I attack for 9. Hold up the dig through time. I guess this is how we play. Force the issue there. Take 5. It's totally fine. So what happens? I have 3 cards in the yard. That means if I dig now, I can maybe find something. Like, I don't know, Bowmasters or whatever. Trying to think about what cards I can hit. Reanimate. Reanimate looks like a card that can finish the job. What if I take Reanimate and Borrower? What if I take Subtlety? Attack for 5. Subtlety and Borrower. No, Subtlety and Reanimate, I bet. Subtlety, Reanimate. I think what I have to do now is go to 6. Reanimating the Vengevine. Go to 6. That is enough to die to a Bolt. What if I go for Endurance? Then I don't die to a Bolt. Then I get rid of my bonus graveyard. Okay, I think that's what I have to do. Reanimate Endurance, get rid of my opponent's graveyard. Hopefully, Subtlety my opponent's blocker and attack for exactly lethal. Mm-hmm. And what works. That is not something I can Subtlety. Forest. Sylvan Safekeeper is a card that blocks Endurance, so I'm not gonna allow that. I'm gonna try and subtlety it up to the top of my opponent's deck. Threaten lethal. Let's see if my opponent has something here for the blocks. That would put my opponent to 1 life, chump blocking Endurance, while taking 1 damage from the Grove. If it's a 2-drop, that is. I just feel like my opponent passed the turn in some weird spots where they had extra mana. Actually, I don't think my opponent has something here. I think he just drew the Sylvan as well. Maybe he hung on to the Time Walk, trying to get a good turn in. We're basically just waiting for my opponent to make a move here. I believe they also played a land, so they can't even put it to the top and Grove into it. Let's see what the opponent comes up with here. Could be anything from a very hard decision to a nice goodbye message. Won the flip. Gets action probe. Put my opponent dead. Wow. That was an incredible match. Wow, I'm so happy I have this on camera. So much stressful stuff going on. Threading the needle. Just getting there on the flash. With the sideboarded Primus. Just getting there on the island for the treasury. Just, getting to dig through time. Disrupt my opponent's graveyard. Build lethal. Oof, that was really great. So now I need a small break. And I guess in the next video, we take on the top 8 of this amazing Vegas qualifiers. Thanks so much for watching. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.